for a moment. As he meticulously organized fresh flower bouquets in the front of the store on that particular Tuesday morning, a ray of golden sunlight streamed through the glass doors, and in came Mrs. Wilder. Mrs. Wilder was a sprightly 80-year-old with silver curls that bounced with every step. Today, however, Jessie noticed her fragile hands trembled slightly as she pushed her rickety cart forward, weighed down by a few essential groceries. As she reached the register, Jessie gave her his fullest attention. "Good morning, Mrs. Wilder. How are you doing today?" "Oh, Jessie dear, much better now that I see you," she replied, her voice crackling with warmth. He could see the joy in her eyes before she even began to unload her cart: a loaf of bread, a carton of eggs, and a small pile of fruits, all offset by the visible weariness on her face. Jessie rang up her items with care, keeping the conversation gentle and light. They chatted about the flowers he'd arranged just that morning from the local market, and he listened as she told him about her late husband's fondness for tulips. But as he totaled her expenses, Jessie's heart sank. The $28.47 was more than Mrs. Wilder had anticipated. He watched her fumble through her worn wallet, her brows furrowing in distress as she counted out crumpled bills and loose change. In that moment, Jessie felt the pulse of his own challenges thrum through him. This shouldn't be her struggle too. Thinking fast, he said, "You know what, Mrs. Wilder? I'd like to cover this for you. Really, it's the least I can do." The words slipped out, almost instinctively, before he could catch himself. Her eyes widened, and for a heartbeat, surprise reigned before giving way to gratitude. "Oh, Jessie, you really don't have to do that. This is my treat this week for all the hard work you do. There has to be another way." "No arguments," he insisted gently, keeping his tone light. "You've done so much for this town, and I want to help. Really, it's just a few groceries." He flashed her a smile, the warmth of it reaching his own heart. She hesitated, looking at Jess's earnest face and the kindness reflected in his eyes. Then, with a slow nod, she acquiesced. "Well, if you insist, how can I possibly say no to such generosity?" When he bagged her groceries and handed her the paper sacks, the look of relief was precious. "You've brightened my day, Jessie. You have such a gift for making people feel valued." "Thank you." The sincerity in her voice washed over him like a balm. As Mrs. Wilder shuffled out, he felt a glow inside himself, an echo of the kindness he had given returned tenfold. It was a small act, perhaps, but in that moment he realized the power of connection amidst the burdens. He wished that everyone would take a moment to connect, to realize that your troubles could lead you to a place of empathy. Days passed, the memory of that interaction warming his heart. Jessie went through the routines of work, attending to customers, restocking shelves, and chatting with regulars. But nothing felt as fulfilling as that singular moment of kindness. Then, on Friday morning, just before noon, Jessie found himself at the register again, ringing up a shopping cart full of bright vegetables and brown paper packages. His mind danced through thoughts of bills and extra hours at work when the door chimed again, and in walked Mrs. Wilder, this time with a familiar spark in her eyes. "Jessie," she exclaimed, holding a weathered envelope aloft. "I came by to give you something." His brow furrowed in surprise. "What's this?" he asked, curiosity filling the space between them. She chuckled. A delightful sound, and the wrinkles around her eyes deepened. "Open it." Tentatively, Jessie opened the envelope to find a check made out to him. The amount was a simple figure, less than what he had given her, but it held a weight of importance that elicited a rush of emotion. "Mrs. Wilder," he stammered, hardly able to form the words. "You paid for my groceries last week," she said, her voice steady. "And it meant so much to me, dear. I wanted to repay your kindness in my own way, to show my appreciation." Jessie felt his chest tighten, and his eyes stung as he struggled to articulate his gratitude. "But I didn't help you to be paid back. Keeping this feels like taking away from you. Kindness doesn't work like that, my friend," she smiled. "Just accept it, and know that it inspires me to keep my heart open to others like you." In a world that often seemed to revolve around scarcity and struggle, Jessie felt the tides turning. The ripple effects of their shared kindness were profound, igniting a spark of hope within him that glimmered, vibrant and unyielding. It was not just the exchange of goods and services, it was about human connection and the power of empathy woven through everyday life. That day, as he wrapped up his shift, Jesse couldn't shake the feeling of possibility that fluttered inside him. He began to understand that every small act of kindness sparked an unseen connection, cascading into something greater that could bind a community together. With newfound resolve, he made a mental note to be not only a clerk but a hand of kindness, ever ready to help weave the fabric of compassion in the lives around him. For if there was one thing he had learned that week, it was that kindness, much like love, was an infinite resource that only flourished when shared. The seasons began to change, the green leaves of summer dissolving into a tapestry of gold and crimson as autumn embraced Meadowvale. The nights grew cooler, bringing with them a sense of warmth and reflection. Jesse Thompson found himself smiling often, not just in the soft glow of the grocery store, but in the very fabric of his daily life. His small act of kindness toward Mrs. Wilder had ignited something within him, a flame of optimism and purpose that flickered brighter each passing day. As he ventured outside after work one evening, he couldn't help but notice how the townsfolk seemed more engaged with one another. Perhaps it was a result of his small gesture, or perhaps kindness had its own way of spreading, like the vibrant hues of fallen leaves caught in a brisk October wind. As he walked home, he noticed how people greeted one another with genuine smiles, stopping to chat, share stories, or offer help. There was an unmistakable warmth radiating through the streets, and Jesse felt his heart swell. That weekend, as he prepared to close Cummings' grocery, he stood lost in thought, oblivious to the clock. Mrs. Wilder's words replayed in his mind: kindness doesn't work like that, but was it really enough? Inspired by her spirit, he thought about how he could extend his kindness beyond the cash register and into the community. On a chilly Saturday morning, Jesse gathered his courage and crafted a notice he pinned up at the store entrance. "Free coffee and cookies tomorrow. Join us for a community gathering." He pondered for a moment, hoping it wouldn't turn out to be a ridiculous endeavor. What if no one showed up? But an ember of courage flared within him, inviting connection, fostering warmth. The next day, with a thermos of steaming coffee brewed to perfection and trays of homemade cookies lined up in cheerful array, Jesse paced nervously as he set everything up in the small community corner of the store. The aroma wafted through the air, and soon enough, familiar faces began to trickle in. To his delight, Mrs. Wilder was among the first. "Oh dear, Jesse. What a glorious spread!" she exclaimed, clearly enamored by the setup. Her eyes sparkled, a light of excitement dancing in them, as she reached for a cookie. "You don't know how much this means to us." A ripple of conversation began, and soon laughter echoed through the store. Jesse watched as neighbors interacted with one another, their stories mingling amidst the savory scent of coffee. The elderly reminisced, families shared anecdotes, and young parents discussed childhood fables. It was a melting pot of connection, each moment bridging gaps he hadn't realized existed. Over the next few weeks, the community gatherings became a weekend staple. Jesse turned the space into a haven for connection, welcoming local artists to showcase their work, inviting musicians to play, and hosting themed evenings that allowed everyone to come together and celebrate. He discovered that Tara, the quiet baker from down the street, had a voice that could ignite the room and a penchant for crafting extraordinary pastries. Her cinnamon rolls soon became legendary. One evening, as autumn deepened, Jesse sat with Tara, sipping cider. The glow of lanterns flickered overhead as laughter wrapped around them like a warm blanket. He found himself sharing his family's struggles, the weight of financial hardships, and the toll it took on his spirit. To his surprise, Tara listened patiently, her eyes sincere. "I hadn't realized how heavy it all was," she said softly. "You give so much to this community. Sometimes it can be challenging to receive kindness, Jesse. It's not a weakness but part of that beautiful tapestry we're weaving together." Her observation struck a chord within him. It felt like an invitation, an opportunity to both give and receive. As the weeks rolled on, he learned to accept the smallest tokens of kindness: a warm meal from Mrs. Wilder, a thoughtful treat from Tara, encouragement from regulars at the store. and laughter from neighborhood children. But fate threw him a curveball. One evening, Jesse received a call from his father. There was an urgent financial issue concerning his mother's care that needed immediate attention and resources they didn't have. Jesse's heart raced as panic clawed at his chest. His family's needs were pressing, and the weight of it made his mind dizzy. Over another gathering, he stood at the front, drowning in worry as he stared at the crowd of smiling faces. Suddenly, he felt that familiar warmth of kindness wrap around him, filling him with a sense of calm. Encouraged by the people surrounding him, he chose to share his burden. "I know many of you come here for connection, so I want to be honest." Jesse paused, and the murmur of laughter slowed, eyes turning toward him. "My family is going through a difficult time right now. We've had unexpected medical expenses, and I'm feeling particularly lost about how to manage it all." A hush fell over the crowd. But then voices began to rise, words woven with compassion and understanding. "You're not alone." Jesse, an older gentleman, piped up, nodding. "We're a community. We're family. Together we can help." Mrs. Wilder squeezed his hand reassuringly, and soon others chimed in with suggestions and offers of support. Tara moved closer, her voice gentle yet firm. "Why don't we organize a fundraiser? We could come together to help alleviate your worries. When everyone contributes a small piece, it lightens the load." Jesse sat there, stunned yet enveloped by a warmth that overcame his despair. The collective kindness of the town was more than he had ever imagined. By the end of the gathering, a plan formed, and he found himself surrounded by friends eager to lend support, not one of them expecting anything in return. The days that followed were surreal. The fundraiser drew in everyone from all walks of life in Meadowvale. Musicians filled the square with lively melodies, while artists volunteered their works for auction, and local businesses donated goods. Families set up booths with homemade treats and games for children, gracefully intermingling joy with purpose. When the day arrived, Jesse watched in disbelief as the community rallied together, smiles pulsing with every exchange. The energy was electric, and he could feel the cracks in his spirit beginning to mend with each ounce of kindness poured into the event. That evening, as the final tally was announced, Jesse's voice trembled with emotion. The funds raised surpassed anything he could have imagined. Overwhelmed with gratitude, he felt tears spill over as he surveyed the faces illuminated by twilight, all of them beaming with joy. This is far beyond what I could ever express. Your kindness has shifted everything for my family." As laughter erupted around him, a sense of belonging flooded his heart. Here among those he had served, they had shared burdens and forged connections. Each smile, each act of kindness, rippled through the community's soul and through his own. Weeks passed, and with every small moment of connection, an unbreakable connection began to form between Jesse and the townsfolk. He continued to share groceries and treats with families in need, knowing now how transformative it could be. Every exchange sparked hope, every contact wove tighter the fabric of their community. One evening, during their usual gathering, Jesse stood before the crowd, his heart capturing the room's energy. "Let's make this a tradition. Let's turn our connections into a monthly gathering where kindness can flourish in every form." He felt a swell of confidence as the crowd erupted in cheer. From that moment on, Jesse became not just a lifeline at Cummings' Grocery but a weaver of the town's collective spirit. As the seasons cycled between the textures of life, he realized that the kindness he had fostered with his humble actions had transformed not only their community but also himself. The ripple effects echoed through Meadowvale, fostering a spirit of togetherness and renewal that would endure beyond seasons and trials. Each encounter built bridges that spanned not just difficulties but joy and kinship, showing everyone how generosity has a way of coloring the mundane with hope, and turning burdens into blessings one act of kindness at a time. And on chilly nights filled with laughter and warmth, Jesse understood that even in the depths of hardship, when one heart chose to be kind, it ignited a light that had the power to touch many souls, guiding them all towards belonging. In the interconnected web of human experience, kindness was the shining thread that wove their stories into one beautiful tapestry. As the days grew shorter and the first hints of frost kissed the edges of Meadowvale, Jesse Thompson felt an undeniable shift within himself, and the community he cherished. With each passing week, the gatherings at Cummings Grocery transformed into vibrant celebrations of connection, laughter, and belonging. Jesse could hardly recall the sleepless nights he had spent balancing bills and dreams that burden now felt lighter, softened by the shared experiences pouring out from the people around him. The warmth of kindness he had offered that day to Mrs. Wilder had sown much deeper roots than he ever anticipated. In return for his small act, the community had wrapped him in a blanket of support and love that made him feel seen. Neighbors became friends, and friends became family. So much had changed. The smiles in the store were contagious now, a testament to the power of maintaining hope and connection. Jesse often found himself reflecting as he sorted the shelves at the grocery store. The fluorescent lights buzzed softly above, and he would glance out the front window, where friends gathered on makeshift picnic tables, sipping hot cider and sharing stories as the crisp air danced around them. Tara, now a constant presence, had blossomed into one of his closest confidantes. Her laughter harmonized beautifully with the joy buzzing throughout the store, connecting him even further to the community he loved. One chilly afternoon, while Jesse was filling the display with winter root vegetables, Tara walked in, a spark of excitement lighting her face. "Jesse, you won't believe what just happened," she exclaimed, waving an envelope in the air. His curiosity piqued. Jesse wiped his hands on his apron, leaning against the counter as she approached. "What's going on?" "I got a call from the coordinator at the Community Arts Festival. They want me to host a culinary demonstration, and they've heard about the gatherings you started." His heart swelled with pride and warmth for his friend. "That's incredible. You'll be amazing, Tara." "Thanks. But here's the best part. They've asked if you'd like to be involved too. They want you to speak about acting with kindness in the community, and how your love for the people here has sparked such positive changes." Jesse's brow furrowed at the thought. "Me? Speak in front of everyone? I don't know if I can do that." "Of course you can." Tara's enthusiasm was infectious. "Think about what you've done already. The kindness you showed to Mrs. Wilder, how that has rippled into everything this town is now. People want to hear your story. It's real, Jesse. It's all about connection and compassion, something we all need more of." At that moment, he felt a mixture of fear and excitement. He'd spent his life framing himself as a behind-the-scenes kind of person, finding solace in what he perceived as humble acts of service. However, in the heart of his doubt was a flicker of ambition, the tiny rush of energy that came from wanting to share his journey. "You really think I can do it?" he asked, vulnerability slipping into his voice. "Absolutely. Trust me, it will be inspiring. And think of it this way, you can spread the message of kindness even further. People need to know they're not alone, that every small act really does matter." As the date of the festival approached, Jesse found himself thrust into a whirlwind of preparation. With Tara's guidance, he crafted a speech that not only captured his own experiences, but encapsulated the essence of community compassion. In the evenings after work, they sat together, revising sentences, exploring ideas, and finessing anecdotes about the impact of the simple kindness he had witnessed. On the day of the festival, Meadowvale was adorned in cheerful colors, and the air hummed with excitement. Jesse stood at the edge of the community park, numerous booths set up, showcasing the talent and creativity of local artists and makers. Laughter and music mingled around him, and the savory smell of Tara's culinary creations wafted through the crisp autumn air. Just before stepping onto the stage that had been erected in the middle of the park, all those familiar emotions of doubt flickered in his chest. What if he stumbled? What if his story didn't resonate? But then he closed his eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath. He remembered the countless faces he had encountered, the laughter, the encouragement, the love that filled this very space now. With Tara's reassuring smile glimmering in his periphery, Jesse opened his eyes and stepped forward. "Hello everyone," he began, his voice trembling slightly but growing steadier with each word. As he scanned the crowd before him, he saw familiar faces who had supported him through thick and thin. "I want to share a story. It's about the little things that can change the world." He spoke of the day he helped Mrs. Wilder, weaving in anecdotes not only of his struggle but also of the connections blossoming in those small acts of kindness. He described how each moment had intertwined with the next, a domino effect of empathy and compassion unfurling upon the canvas of their town. As he spoke, he noticed the way eyes lit up in recognition, and how many in the crowd began nodding in silent harmony with his words. He spoke of the beauty of vulnerability, about how letting others in creates bonds that can heal both the giver and the receiver, and how kindness striking one person could reverberate and touch so many more. Each of us has the power to shape our community, he concluded, looking out at the faces illuminated by hope. A communal breath seemed to swell within the space, uniting them all. Simply by deciding to show up, to listen, and to love one another, we can build the kind of connection that transforms lives. The ripples of kindness stretch far beyond what we can see, so let's keep making waves. Thunderous applause erupted as he stepped back from the microphone. A sensation filled him, one that enveloped his entire being. Every ounce of fear dissolved into sheer joy and gratitude, knowing he had shared not just his story but an invitation for others to embrace their own. As the festival continued, Jesse found himself surrounded by familiar faces and warm conversations. People approached him throughout the day to express their appreciation for his words, sharing their own stories of kindness and connection. The small ripple he had started months ago was now a tidal wave of love and embodiment of everything they had worked for as a community. Later that evening, as the sun began to set and a soft glow enveloped Meadowvale, Tara pulled Jesse aside, her eyes sparkling. "That was incredible. You were mesmerizing, Jesse. I'm so proud of you." "Thanks, Tara. I couldn't have done it without your encouragement," he replied, feeling a warmth spread through his chest. "Together we will keep this kindness alive, right? The gatherings, the support we give each other, let's keep that energy going. Let's aim for something even bigger." In the weeks that followed, their idea transformed into a robust initiative, Meadowvale Acts of Kindness. Monthly gatherings became combined with community outreach programs, and it soon snowballed into a dedicated effort to help those in need, whether through food drives, care packages for the elderly, or mentorship for the youth. With each